Welcome back to This Week in Vegas. I'm Marco D'Angelo, along with my co-host, Vegas Runner. And this week, we are joined by a special guest, Poole. He's one of our forum members. This is segment 2, and we're going to talk about specializing in a particular conference with your handicapping. Now, the pregame forums, it's a hub of information. I mean, we've got people from all over the country, and it's just natural that where you're at and what's in front of you, you're going to know more about that if you're, myself, my background was from Pittsburgh. I lived 46 years in Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh sports, to me, I believe, better than anybody. And I use that knowledge to my advantage.
So do I. I always call you. If I want to bet a Pittsburgh game, it's true.
But we've got forum members scattered throughout the country, and we've got some very good handicappers and guys that know a particular area, region, or conference. And Paul, you're one of those guys.
Yeah.
And as we talked in the first segment, you're a little bit
taking notice.
You're a little bit of a legend with the Ohio Valley Conference, and tell us what it is about that conference. Why you're honed in on that conference, and VR and myself will talk about what to look at as a handicapper, what we do in particular conferences with that knowledge.
Well, what got me started in it is our local hometown college, Southeast Missouri State, plays in that conference. And my favorite of all sports is NCAA basketball. And I really get into basketball, so naturally I want to find out as much as I can about the conference that my favorite team is in. I attend a lot of the practices. I talk to the players, the coaches.
Do you really?
And I really love college basketball.
Dude, not to interrupt, that's information that very few people you will have access to. I mean, to say that here's a guy who goes and is able to scout practices, watch practices, or even speak to someone that's closer, that's information that's extremely valuable.
And one of the things that a lot of people, the mistake people make, and this is not something that you do, is that when, you don't want to become a homer.
Sure. Okay?
And that you only you're only betting your team. Well, if you're only making bets on your team, but you're spot betting in the right situations and you're winning,
that's fine.
You can be a homer all you want, but you've got to have open eyes. You can't be looking through your team with rose-colored glasses. And and honestly, I know myself, I go against Pittsburgh as much as I go with them, because there are situations, that chemistry, those bigger games. Some people, everybody knows that Michigan and Ohio State's the biggest rivalry, college football. But these smaller conferences and schools, not everybody knows, the rivalries that you have, Akron and Kent, and the MAC and different things. And teams respond differently coming off a win and coming off a loss and those type of, big games. And knowing your conference, knowing your teams, knowing the chemistry, know how the team is feeling at that time, if they're on an emotional high, low. Those are things that just, to me, are good things to look at when you're handicapping.
I agree 100%. And to take it a step further, from my experience as being an ex-runner and betting for betting syndicates, although they bet every sport and every conference, the information would come from handicappers who would get information from guys like Poole, who were specializing in certain conferences because they believed that this guy actually does have the potential to know something that hasn't been added to the number yet. Because the odds maker, believe it or not, isn't going to know as much about Southeast Missouri State as Poole does. You put them in the same room, and he's not going to be able to tell anything to Poole that Poole doesn't know. He's strictly going to go off his power ratings, where Poole could pick up something that this guy didn't look good in practice. This guy was coughing. Some things that you're not going to know unless you're really close to that organization or following that particular conference.
And actually, the smaller the conference, the bigger the advantage the local has over Vegas, because Vegas can't follow all of those teams. So, a guy like you, you follow that and you're going to make money. There's no question.
Because the Southeast Missouri State game isn't going to get as much volume or action as the Duke game. So me as an odds maker, how much time am I going to put into putting out a correct number for Southeast Missouri State as I am for putting out a sharp number for Duke against North Carolina that's going to bring in 80% of my book for that night? So that's where you have the advantages with guys that specialize, like you said, especially in the smaller conferences.
Let me bring up one other point, too. Like, the one thing, Ohio Valley, they play in 1AA football, or whatever they call that new one.
The new, not BCS, the other conference.
Yeah, whatever it is. But I know Five Dimes puts out lines on those games. And I don't know how many other sports books do, but you can really find some bargains in there.
Absolutely.
In football.
See, that's what sports betting's about, finding an edge. And I think that's what I always try to talk about when I say, what are you betting for? Why do you bet? Do you bet for entertainment? God bless you. Enjoy it. Entertainment costs money. So when you lose a little bit, don't be pissed off. But if you bet to make a profit, then who cares what you're betting on? You're just looking for an edge. And if it's AA NCAA football or it's the Super Bowl, who cares? And that's why I love guys like him, man, that specialize in those small things and could find huge edges.
My mom used to tease my dad and said, you'd bet 2 ants running across the picnic table. And my dad said, if I had an edge, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
If I knew one hadn't eaten in the
But, it's good. And we stress it so much. Knowledge is power. You never can have, too much knowledge. And the thing about our forums is, even if you're, everybody's got their own handicapping style. But when you can add something, you read somebody else's write-up. If Poole goes in and says, I like so-and-so, and he gives you a paragraph of why he likes it. If you can just pull something out of there, if no pun intended with the pull out of there, it helps your arsenal, and and then you add it to your own style of handicapping, and it might make the play even stronger.
I agree 100%. Since I've saw like how much a poster like Steve B knows about the Pac-10, Oregon State,
Opie on
Big East. Honestly, if I have a position I want to take in that game, I always make sure to look, because I trust that he knows more about this matchup than the information I've been able to gather up to that point. And it's just foolish not to look at it. And that's where I think being able to take advantage of a forum is so huge for all bettors, man. I mean, it's stupid not to.
Again, we want to stress it, we can't stress it enough. Pregame.com, we're here to get people ready to bet. The information we have at pregame is priceless. And we sell picks. I said it in the first segment, but there's so much value at pregame and information that you can get for free that just, again, it's priceless information. You can't get this stuff anywhere else. And having all of these people, I mean, back in the day, and I'll go back to, I've been doing this for 30 years. There were only a handful of publications, and there wasn't the internet, okay? You bought the Gold Sheet.
Sure.
Okay? You ripped up your Gold Sheet, you opened it up, you had it on your desk, you looked at power ratings, you looked at different things, and you had that one section that was called the special ticker. And, the Gold Sheet had contacts across the country, but you were getting information that was, on Sunday night for Saturday. What they heard, from their, Missouri Valley Conference or Southeastern Conference, wherever. With the internet and with forums like we have,
up to the minute, baby,
you get everything up to the minute, and that's the great part of it. And Poole, I want to thank you again, Ron. It has been a pleasure you coming on air with us. Vegas Runner, myself, and RJ. We were ecstatic whenever you told us you were coming, and you wanted to meet us. We love to meet our guys. thanks for participating. Thanks for all of your work in the forums. Continue to do so, and I think your credibility is going to go up, and you'll have some boasting because you are history in the making, the first pregame forum member to be, sit in on a podcast with us. So, kudos to you for that.
Well, I couldn't turn that down. RJ said you were buying my lunch.
Oh, there you go. I believe RJ on that one. Hey, this has been This Week in Vegas. I'm Marco D'Angelo, Vegas runner, special guest pool. We'll talk to you next week.